Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am Lisa Rozier, the Director of Marketing here at Lawyers with Purpose, as well as Guidr. And today we are joined by the Guidr team to answer all of your questions and discussions about our digital platform known as Guidr. So with us, we have Britt Sharon. She is attorney and also product owner. She is going to be giving us some fun insight about 15 minutes into the conversation. We have Dave Zampano and Guy Riemann, founders. Dave is an attorney and Guy is your tech guy. No pun intended, sorry, Guy. We also have Kristen Belcher with us, who is our integrator and leader of the company as well. But we have some new faces on our discussion today. And just to give you the upfront contract, this next hour that we're going to spend together is an open forum conversation. For those of you that have never joined us, welcome. And we ask you to use your chat feature and to raise your hand. We have some familiar faces with us, so please feel free to give us some insight of the successes you've maybe had thus far with Guidr, or ask any additional questions. And like I said, this is a very fluid, comfortable conversation. And so I'm going to just start off with some homework and reminders in terms of, for those of you that are new or would like a refresher in terms of content that we have about Guidr, you can always go to lawyerswithpurpose.com/Guidr. There is a video that allows you to see the product from an attorney perspective in terms of how it works for you, the back end of it, and how it operates within your law firm. In addition, you can always access podcasts, blogs, and if you haven't already, you can download the Digitization of Law book that we have, Dave and Guy have written. In addition, what was that? Yep, there you go, Guy. Thank you. So I'm going to just, if nobody has a question, I'm going to start off with Britt. Britt, you've been heavily involved with onboarding our members with Guidr. Any insights that you would like to share with the participants that are on the call with us today about some ease, the ease of onboarding, some roadblocks that you've been coming up with that you want to address? Because, we're not perfect. So let's talk about certain things.
Sure. So it's been a pretty smooth process so far. So when you do sign up, we just ask for basically banking information so you can actually get paid by Guidr. That's pretty important. And from there, you do your own registration. So I send you a link. You pick your own Guidr URL. So you can make it, guidr.legal/your law firm, whatever name you want. You just fill in some of your contact information, your important details, and that goes through me. I approve it just to basically make sure that nobody else has, I know we've had two Paula Collins on here, so make sure we don't have two Paula Collins law firm, the same URLs. And from there, that gets approved, and you work really closely with our marketing team to choose a bunch of options for your marketing plan. And maybe, I don't know if you or Leslie want to speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so absolutely. Part of your onboarding process with the Guidr platform is you go through all the tech stuff that Britt was just talking about, and then you meet with the marketing team to get your marketing materials branded and updated for you, and you go through the process with Leslie. We have a lot on technology, so we have your Guidr marketing toolkit on a digital platform for you to review it all. And then at the end, once all of your materials are updated and your website is updated and ready to go, you will have a conversation with the marketing team to help you create your game plan for implementation. So some of the successes that we have seen are some law firms. I don't know if Mr. Sakota is on this call. He is in Hawaii. He did join us last time, but Mr. Sakota has absolutely partnered with local community leaders and municipalities and has brought the platform to their organizations and to their employees, and has gotten great success with responses in that terms. And we've also had some law firms that are using the mass media elements as well. So I just want to do a time check. We're almost at 10 after into the conversation. I just want to pause because this is a forum for everyone on this call to ask questions. So does anybody have any questions before we jump in? Anyone?
This is Ron.
Hi.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Hi.
A little slow sometimes picking up on Dave's good ideas, but the light bulb went on.
Oh, I love you, Ron.
You're great, Dave. But so I've got a practice that has over the years pretty much focused on Medicaid planning, asset protection planning. And most of my clientele is, well, the primary clients are 60, 70, 80, 90 years old. I do get their kids who come in, that sandwich generation, but I don't, and the kind of work that I do is, it does require a lot of relatively sophisticated planning to take into account a lot of assets and all the navigating all the complex rules. And so I haven't really done much in the realm of the I don't even know which generations, Xers, Yers, aughts, whoever. But so they're not the folks that I focused on because I can't afford, given my model, to or the opportunity cost of spending a few hours with them versus a Medicaid asset protection client and Medicaid application. I can just make so much more money doing that work. However, I've just sort of skimmed the book, and it's clear to me that all those analogies are happening. There's a segmented market out there of younger folks, maybe, and I don't know what the break is, 40 and below or something like that. And I know the younger kids who they know what they want. I need a will. I've got a wife. I've got a kid. I need to leave everything to her. I need to make sure I leave it to my kids after that. I need to name guardians. I need powers of attorney. Boom. That's really all I need. I don't need all this sophisticated planning work. So somebody's going to have to service those folks. And so I'm coming here today with a preconceived idea that maybe there is a market segmentation approach that I could take with this that would make really good sense in my practice. And I'm interested to find out, one, I want to validate that, and then I want to see what other opportunities may be available to merge this sort of platform into a practice. I have Keith, turn around and smile. Keith O'Gara is a new lawyer who's just joined into my practice. Keith's got about 15 years of practice experience. He's a real sort of a prototype LWPer, worked for 15 years in the public defender's office, did everything he could do there, handled all their murder cases, their appeals, all that sort of stuff. And then he's just sort of, I don't want to do this anymore. So he looked around, and so he's come with me. And so we're putting together a transition plan. And this just struck me as a great way to flesh out the practice. I don't want to go anywhere. I want to reduce my time, but so that's enough background talk. I'm looking at two things. Is a market segmentation approach a good idea for us to implement Guidr into our practice? And are there other areas that I haven't thought about yet, because I just haven't been thinking much, that would make sense for us to implement it? And then third, of course, would be, I think, what Brittany was talking about, which is appropriate marketing programs, whether it's in-house employee benefits or mass marketing or whatever. So that's what we're here for. I'm going to mute myself.
Thank you, Ron. So I'm going to actually toss it to Guy and Dave to see if they would like to answer first, because they'll definitely have some great insight. And then for anyone, if you don't mind, if you could put on your camera so we could see your faces, that would be great. But Dave,
They're afraid they're going to get voluntold.
I know, but we won't do that. But Ron, thank you for those phenomenal questions. So Dave, what kind of response do you have for Ron?
Well, Ron hit about 18 different things in his monologue there. So Ron, let me see if I can capture what you're saying. You have a robust estate planning, elder law practice, actually Medicaid practice. And you know the value of your time, because when someone comes in, you've got so much time. if you have time, you want to be working on, more high leverage cases where there's more bang for the buck. And you really have never really dabbled in the millennials. I think that's what they call them now. Gen X, Gen Y, millennials. So here's what I'd like to share, a couple things. And then I'll kind of, in my final thing, I'll bump it over to Guy to see his thoughts on some of the other technologies that we're thinking longer term for Guidr. But here's what I would say. One of the biggest fears in the book, we talk about the obstacles and barriers in chapter 2. And I always have my book here because, I always love the chapters. They so commonly anchor to the challenges that I could tell me as a lawyer, the process I had to go through to even come to look at Guidr and say, wow, this is something worthwhile. And conflicts, challenges, and barriers. One of the things we found, Ron, I'm going to, hopefully by the end of this call, Lisa will talk a little bit about the marketing, but one of the things we're seeing that we never expected, because we've been, promoting Guidr in my individual law firm, which isn't too far from yours. We're about an hour and a half apart from each other. And we're finding a different segment of the population being attracted to it. Our typical client is not attracted to this. The 78-year-old who's about to go into a nursing home is not attracted to it. And I want to say, even their children, who are the caregivers, are not technically attracted to it right now. What I'm finding is all of the other people we will never, ever talk to. Why? Because we've created a brand for ourselves in the marketplace that tell people like that not to talk to us. Let me give an example. How many times have us as lawyers taken a call from someone and it's just a simple case and you're like on the fence? As a lawyer, I got to help this person, but as an attorney, I want to be efficient, and I know this could be a big waste of time for a will healthcare proxy power of attorney. So we've started tapering up the price of our will healthcare proxy power of attorney. So I'm going to be blunt, and this is going to scare a lot of you. If someone comes into my office for a will healthcare proxy power of attorney and they're a married couple, they're paying $1,295. If they're an individual, they're paying $995. If they're going on Guidr, they're paying somewhere between $300 and $450, depending upon if they opt for the in-office signing. Now, if that scares you, you're the perfect candidate for Guidr, because it tells me that we all got to get in tune with what's going on, which is chapter 3. Lawyers don't have a choice, consumers expect it. So what we've found, Ron, is that our keynote speaker at our most recent event said the most powerful thing in the whole world I've ever heard, at least as it relates to the buying consumer today. And I use it in all my conversations. He said, people don't want to talk to you until they want to talk to you. Now, why that's so important is I want to put us all in that situation. Every one of us here on this call today is a consumer. We're all going to buy goods in the marketplace. Do we just go to the buyer when we want a car? Do we just go to the car dealership? Or are we doing all the research online? We're looking to see what kind of car we want, what the features and benefits are. We're trying to distinguish the ratings of one dealer versus another. And then we decide who we want to talk to. Well, that's the same thing that's happening all over the world. And the biggest proof of this is LegalZoom is promoting that they are soon to hit their 5 millionth customer. Now, you notice I call them a customer. They can't call them a client like we all can. Now, to me as an attorney, to me as the head of Lawyers with Purpose, I'm trying to help lawyers have a strong practice. That makes me shudder, because that's 5 million people that didn't go to law firms. Those were people that didn't want to talk to anybody. Those were people that just wanted to go online and get the, quote, simple stuff done. What I think is really powerful about this that distinguishes it from all the self-help online services, and this is critically important, is we are lawyers. Guidr is only available through law firms. That as soon as someone comes on the Guidr platform, they are in your office. They're not in the Guidr office, they're in your office. And so we have built in all the protections and the ethical restrictions and requirements. We've met all those, we've checked all the boxes. But that being said, what's also saying to that client, hey, you don't have to go to these big self-help sites, which you don't know what you're getting. But as Brittany's going to share a little bit later with the product advisor, it's also going to help them understand what the basic documents do, but more importantly, what they don't do, and what other things you should consider that being online, quote unquote, just can't accommodate. And so that's where we call the upsell. So what we did not expect when we built this, but what we are seeing now as we have been rolling it out is Guidr is actually becoming a great tool for people to actually get that basic document, but it's also becoming a marketing tool to upsell people into estate plans, marketing plans, et cetera. And in the spring, when we release the Medicaid portion of it, Ron, people are going to be able to go online and print the Medicaid opinion letter in real time, which will then say, hey, here's what this law firm can do for you. Click here to schedule your appointment. So Guidr is set up to do two things. Number one, it's set up, and where I think it's different than the other self-helps, it's set up to help people get that basic, simple stuff, which are people we're not normally talking to. And then it's also there to help people understand what they can't get online simply. And it helps them go through the process online to complete as much as possible before they have to talk to us with regard to trust planning, Medicaid planning, and things down the line. So that's my kind of quick hit. We're seeing a lot of millennials. We're seeing a lot of people in their 50s that are not sophisticated. They have a house in less than $100,000. That we're seeing a lot of people like that afraid to come because they don't want to spend $1,295. So to me, it's about finding things that we would never have received anyway. These are people that would have ended up somewhere else or not ended up doing it.
Thanks, Dave.
Can we hear from Guy too?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Ron, first of all, I just want to echo Dave's sentiment. I love you as well. The fact that you've read our book. Thank you very much for that. I've got a question for you. When you did that kind of nifty slide thing, are your chairs on rails? Because that was like you'd practiced it before with your partner.
Yeah, Ron, you did that thing when you zipped out and your new attorney zipped in.
It was like choreographed. You're on mute, Ron. You're on mute.
You're on mute, Ron. I didn't know if that was it.
Oh.
That was, yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know. Not premeditated. I just did it.
Super
I
I
wanted
smooth.
you
moved
to
the
see-
camera.
That was pretty cool.
So what I would say is that the problem with going after Dave is that Dave has probably said most things. So I think what I'll do though is, my background, as Dave's alluded to, is in the tech world, and I've built platforms for a living for a number of years, and and I understand what people are thinking that are using these platforms and what their expectations are. And so there's a couple of things really with Guidr that when Dave first talked to me about it, I thought, you know what, this is something that's going to sweep through, this type of idea is going to sweep through the legal world, because the legal world's been slow in adopting technology. I think it's probably fair to say overall, compared to many other sectors. So we kind of know what's coming because we've seen it in transport, we've seen it in retail, we've seen it in many other sectors. And the key point that Dave made is that people's expectations are changing, particularly the younger folk, but actually that age range will increase every year. It will do it naturally because we all get a year older. But it will increase quicker than that because, I've seen the adoption of, for example, Facebook, and, my kids were on it initially, then their parents like me went on it, and now my parents are on it, and the kids are now off it because they've got everybody they don't want it on it. And if you think about things like that, the age range that is going to want to and expect to use these types of technologies will increase quicker than one every year. It will increase manyfold more than that. So, this is purposefully, we've built this with law firms in mind, because I don't think there are any other platforms out there that want to include lawyers. Most of them want to exclude lawyers. They want to take all the business themselves. And, Dave, obviously being from this industry, was really keen to make sure that we built something that included lawyers. Now that is actually a lot more complex to do, because we've got an added layer or several layers of complexity to be able to do that. But we felt it was a market that would be, there's an opportunity there. And, this whole system, this whole platform is designed to support small and medium-sized law firms who know kind of what's coming. If you've read the book, you know what's coming. If you've listened to the media, you know what's coming. This is inescapable. It's happened in many sectors, and many sectors have tried to push back, and they've done it unsuccessfully. So you've got to be part of it really and understand it. And we've tried to do that and make it simple for law firms to join. So there is a whole new segment, as Ron pointed out, in his well-articulated talk a second ago, that there's a whole segment that probably most law firms are not engaging with at the moment, the younger than, should we say, 50s or 60s-year-old segment. So that's the opportunity. So rather than seeing this, as Dave mentioned before, as something to fear, I see it as an opportunity to engage with younger people. So you're getting them earlier on in their life. There's money to be made there that you're not earning at the moment. It's nurturing future clients. And, the other thing with Guidr is everything we do, every decision we make, it's with the lawyers in mind, because if you're successful, we're successful. It's as simple as that. So when we add a feature, the idea is that you guys will always make money out of it. And if you make money out of it, we make money out of it. I'm just trying to think of an example. So if we're, we're building in EPA, which is a planning advisor, which Dave mentioned before, and that's there to guide consumers through the process. And we've got a product advisor, and what that will do is it will suggest them based on what they've told us, the services they need. But in some of those cases, they're going to need more than we can offer. So they're going to need a trust, and in which case then, as well as, they'll perhaps process the will through here, but the trust goes straight to you guys, because it's, particularly if it's a complex trust, it's something that's more complex than our system is designed to deal with. So I'd see it as lead nurturing and lead generation and a new market. Those are the three things I think you'll benefit from quickly.
Lisa, I had a question of Guy. I didn't know, because I've hit certain things from different attorneys that I've been asked questions that I haven't had a chance to talk to Guy about, but I figured let's throw it right out there in front of all the other attorneys who might not even know to ask this question. Guy, you and I spent a lot of time building the platform. I get all that, but here's the pushback. I'm getting a lot of new technologies coming out, Rally, a whole bunch of other things. And I'm not pointing them out good or bad, but there are these new technologies that are allowing lawyers to kind of digitize their documents online and make them available to the consumer. They're pretty strict. How would you distinguish Guidr from all these new, what I call one-off technologies or things that are kind of hitting the lawyers currently?
Well, I think for a start, this is a one shop fits all. It does the whole thing rather than just bits of the process. That's the first thing. I think the key to any successful digital engagement is simplicity. There's nothing more simple out there than Guidr, nothing. And that's what we've spent a lot of, probably 2/3 of the cost of building this platform has gone into what we call UX design, user experience. We make it as simple as possible. Dave, we started with maybe something like 150 questions. You went through them, you got them down to whatever you got them down to. And then we then got a UX company in who, using things that a computer's good at, a graphical interface, for example, sometimes we managed to get 3 questions into one answer, into one set of, either tick or select or whatever. It dealt with 3 questions. So that 150 went down to, I can't remember, it's somewhere between 70 and 90. I can't remember the exact number. So we've really, really simplified it. So someone can get through the system with no experience and build a will for themselves in, we reckon, around about 35 minutes. And you know, pay less for it. And they're customers that you would not have had coming through your law firm before, either because they don't want to. Their expectation is they don't have to go into a law firm nowadays. They don't want to. It's a grudge. They really don't want to do that. They want to just go on the system, sit on the couch, get the mobile phone out, get the tablet out, and do it, just like they do with car insurance, by the way. It's exactly the same thing.
Makes sense. Yep. Great. Lisa?
Okay, great. Thank you. I know Brittany wants to chime in on a couple things, and then I will address some of the marketing questions. And then, oh, Heidi, I see you have a question. Would you like to?
I do have a question. I have a question. If you put this on your website, and I guess I'm asking for the attorneys that have already done this, how do you get around the other clients that are calling you and saying, like for you, for example, Dave, you're charging $1,200 for a healthcare thing. How do you get around the clients that say, well, wait a second, why are you charging me $1,200? Isn't it cookie cutter? You got it on your website for whatever.
Yeah, I love that question, Heidi. So to be clear, $1,295 is a will, healthcare proxy, power of attorney in our office for a married couple. All three, $995 for a single person. And then on Guidr, it's between $300 and $450. How I get away with it is this: it's not getting away with, it's who's doing the work. I can justify $1,295 all day long. I've got my client service coordinators, I got my paralegals, I got a whole team of people contacting the client, getting information, securing the information, getting it to me meeting with them in the office, sitting down, doing a design. I'm putting hours of work into something that they can do themselves online at home. And so I'm very blunt. I say, look, one of us has to spend the time. If I have to spend the time, you come into the office, this is what it costs. If you want to spend the time, the more time you spend, the less time I spend, the more money you save. And here's, I think you hit something really powerful, Heidi, because this is so far more than just a document. This is the future of the law practice, right? Think about how you buy. You do not go to the mall. Malls don't exist anymore. What you do is you go to Amazon, or you Google something, right? Well, this is what Guidr is. Guidr is your attorney, your way. So let me just share something. And this is a mindset shift that I think all of us as lawyers have to embrace. We have always done our practices what I call the traditional practice. You market. You go out there and market. What's making it a little untraditional now is we got this thing called social media and all this stuff, but marketing's marketing. Once you market, what are you marketing for them to do? You're marketing for them to call your law firm. But now we're a little more sophisticated. We're virtual, so you can actually email our law firm, or you can click on the Calendly and make your own calendar. So we've gotten more sophisticated in the practice of the traditional practice, which is you come in, I tell you what to do. I ask you a series of questions. We figure it all out. My people generate the documents. You come back 2 weeks later and I charge you for all that time. What's happening with Guidr? Guidr is saying this to the consumer. Look, we have a traditional practice we've all become accustomed to. Thanks to, and I say that lightly, thanks to COVID, we now have this new thing called virtual, where we get on a computer and we can see each other virtually through Zoom or Google Meets or all these other things. That's just a modification of the traditional model, right? It's making it easier so people don't have to get in the car and drive to the office. What Guidr is doing is dramatically different than both of those. Guidr is digitizing our practices. What does digitizing mean? It means it's taking our brains and what we do. So when Guy talks about those 150 questions, you and I ask a set series of questions when a client comes in the door. We know they fit into a certain profile, right? We know their profile pre-Medicaid, we know their profile young family, we know their profile, pre-retirement. Like you guys are nodding, you can't even stop yourself not. We know this is what we do. But what we never did is we never stopped to think, all right, what do we say to the pre-Medicaid? What do we say to the pre-retirement? What do we say to the young families? Well, we have a certain series of questions we want to ask, right? Do you have minor children, right? So when we think about those, there's decision trees going on in our minds. What Guy and I have done over the last 22 months, to give you a concept of how long, we've had 8 to 12 developers for 22 months developing this. And we've taken all of those questions that we typically as lawyers ask, and we let the consumer do that online, never speaking or being virtual. We're not traditional or virtual, we're purely digital. See these little minions in the background? These are people on the website helping people understand the different questions they have. And those decision trees are built into the technology so that at the end it could say, hey, listen, based upon what you answered, just like we would tell them if we came into the office, you really need more than what a will healthcare proxy or power of attorney can give you. And that's really what this is, Heidi, is the digitization of law, delegating to technology those things that we traditionally are doing. I see Guy and Lisa raising their hands, so that's my 3-minute on it.
Lisa, give me 30 seconds.
Yes, sir.
So I suspect if you worked out the profit that you made when you take out all the costs of dealing with someone in person compared to the profit you make from referring someone to the Guidr for this very simple basic product with none of your time involved, other than maybe a little bit of marketing costs, that's the only cost, then I suspect that Guidr will probably make you more money in profit. Profit, sanity, turnover is insanity.
And the other thing, thank you, Guy. The other thing, Heidi, and for everyone is not every single person on this call has the same business model and are you in the same market? So to address your question of when somebody comes to your website and they see this and they're going to come back, that's where you would work with the marketing team. If you have an internal marketing team or a third-party vendor that you work with, or you have the option to work with us, we help you draft how you want to show up in the marketplace. And if that's the last part of the process is, okay, Heidi, you have your URL, it's on your website, you've selected your marketing materials. Now let's take time to figure out how are you going to bring this to market? Have you on the call, have your team in the call, have your creative services team, whoever it may be. And we talk about it because you need to have a plan. You're not just going to throw it up on your website and say, okay, there it is. Now let magic happen. No, we have to introduce it to the market and we have to do it based on your style and how you are currently advertising and how we have to show up. So you work with your marketing team. You can work with our marketing team to create that conversation. So by the time people get to your website, they should know the choice that they have. They know that they can come in because they're the person that wants to sit down and talk to someone, or they're the person that never thought about it, that is that new mom that just had the baby and needs her basic documents, and I'm laying in bed doing it online because I know I need to do something. So absolutely, you'll work with your marketing team or our marketing team to help you craft that plan for implementation. Also, I'm sorry, okay, let's go.
Dennis
John
asked a question and John raised his hand. Dennis put a question in the chat box.
John, excuse me. Really quick though, Britt, do you need any clarification on any of the conversation?
No, that's okay. I'd be going backwards at this point. I'd rather answer these questions. And then if I can get to it later, I'll get to it later.
Wonderful, thank you. So I saw John Zanier and then John Sweeney, and then Dennis, you had a question. So you're up, sir.
Yes, I had a few questions. I've 3.
Okay.
Where do the leads come from? Who owns them after the lead is received by the individual firm? And will Guidr contact those leads other than the firm that they went to initially, or share them with any other firms? And also, is it possible to set up, or do you think it would work to set up a separate law firm, separate website for Guidr marketing only?
Okay, so I'm going to answer it, and then Dave and Guy, you can jump in as well. So in terms of Guidr separate from your law firm, we've been having it, all of our law firms have been onboarding and having a specific page within their website that are educating consumers about the Guidr platform. How do you generate leads is going back to what I had discussed with Heidi, is what's your plan of action with Guidr? You in your local market will have the responsibility for lead generation. So you can do that through your synergistic relationships that you might have with financial advisors, community leaders, business lunch and learns. If you do any mass media marketing or digital marketing, that's all part of your marketing plan that you would talk with us for implementation. Those leads will then be generated and they come into your Guidr platform. At that point, they're tied to you. The only time that a consumer may see something Guidr related is when they are 50% through the process and they need the little reminders. Oh, just a reminder, you haven't finished your plan yet. what can we do to help? But besides that, they are attached to you. They are your law firm. And once that transaction is made, you are now able to nurture those people. Like they become sticky to you. So 1-year anniversary of them signing their online legal documents, it's, hey, congratulations. Has anything changed? Is it time for you to come into the office for a review? Bing, there's an upsell. So I think I covered all of your questions.
2 quick issues I want to say from the lawyer side, John, so you can get confidence in this. What you need to appreciate is your Guidr page is unique to you. And
Yes.
for those that are in Lawyers with Purpose, for example, or those that use the Action Step platform, it actually imports it right into your contact management system and creates the matter and imports the documents that the client did. So it's going to integrate with all your other practice. The other thing I want to clarify with something Guy said earlier and Lisa, Guidr does not cost you 1 penny of marketing. Lisa said you have to do marketing to generate it. What it does is it takes your existing marketing that you're already doing and adding this as a feature. So like if Ron's marketing, he's marketing, hey, is your loved one going to nursing home? You know, Ron Feynman and Associates can help you. Well, now Ron's going to be saying, hey, are you young, just married, young kids, can't afford to do the full thing? Go to Guidr on my website, and I'm here to help you when you need me, right? Your attorney your way. So it is unique to you, John, and exclusively to you, and nothing is marketed to them. They're your clients. They're all
Very
subject to
good.
attorney
And
client.
the other,
I'm sorry, Dave, excuse me, Dave, you just mentioned Action Step. Must we have Action Step?
No, you do
Already?
not. Guidr has its own platform where it tracks all the data for you, maintains all your communications with the client. So even for like malpractice down the road, Guidr tracks every single thing the client said yes to, because we compel them to check boxes at key points. So it's always protecting you.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
and just to clarify also, John, when you said, does Guidr resell? No, we're not at third-party vendor that is bidding on leads and selling them to other people. No, that's not the case at all. It's unique to you. Guy, I saw that you wanted to comment.
Yeah, just one small point to add to it is that Dave and I hopefully are pretty reasonable at promoting Guidr, doing our podcasts and the blogs and everything else that we kind of get into, and we've had a hotshot PR guy to really push it. Now, everybody who joins Guidr will benefit from that, because if there's any leads, so when somebody comes on to purely the guidr.legal web address, they'll be presented with the choices on the homepage, so they can pick whatever they want now, or they can go through the product advisor and before they can do anything, they have to put the postcode in. So the lawyers nearest that postcode will come up. I think it's 6 lawyers nearest that postcode will come up, and then the consumer will pick one of those law firms, whichever one's most convenient for them. So, Guidr will begin, and increasingly so is my belief, to generate additional leads that aren't even covered by your own marketing. It will generate its own leads, and you guys will benefit from that.
One other thing I'll add for early adopters, I mean, you gotta remember, we just launched this nationally. We've had it to a few select firms over the last 6 months, but we launched it nationally 8 weeks ago. For those of you that launch this, you can practice within the state. And now with the virtual signings and things like that, you can actually represent anyone within your state. So this really opens up your possibility to beyond your geographic market. Lisa, lots of questions. So let's see if we can start cranking through them.
Yeah, I just want to, John Sweeney, you had your hand raised. I just wanted to acknowledge your question before we jump into the chat feature. And then at 10:45 the latest, I'd love for Britt to introduce the estate plan advisor, the new feature that's going to be coming out. So Mr. Sweeney?
Hey, a couple things. The first thing is, people walk into my office all the time with Zoom, right? Wills, right? And I would say 50 to 75% of the time, they haven't been executed properly, so they're not even a will. Okay.
Yep.
And or when I read the will, okay, it doesn't do what they want it to do. Okay. And even though you have series of questions and everything else, the people don't really have the sophistication to understand what it is and checking the wrong box and everything else, and they get stuff in there that isn't right. So that's my observation, and I understand what you guys are doing, and it's a modification of that strategy, but those are the problems I see with the past one.
No.
But the second thing is, can you walk me through, how much do you charge for this and how much time you expect a lawyer to spend on it and how you make money?
Yeah, Britt. Britt can give you the walkthrough. She's been sampling this big time.
Yeah, so John, just so you know, there are, to your first point, I get that. I've heard that a lot about what if they mess this up. I've seen documents from LegalZoom and they're bad. We do provide signing instructions for those people if they are going off on their own. We provide signing instructions that are specific to each state that give them, very specific rules. You need a witness, you need a notary, you don't need a witness. These people.
Yeah, I would note that Zoom does that too if you walk through their
Oh,
platform.
okay. So to your other point, so we do have a recommended pricing structure that we share with everybody. It's actually pre-filled into Guidr if you want to use it, but you set your own pricing. Obviously, New York City prices in the middle of, I don't know, Nebraska prices might not be the same thing. We do have recommendations, but it's a little bit of, trial and error. What can you get for this plan in your area? There was something else you asked, John, that I was.
My question is, what's your recommended pricing and how much time do you expect a lawyer to spend on this in order to get it accomplished? In other words, I'm trying to figure out whether if I use this platform, I make my hourly rate or not.
So because you can set your own pricing, you can set it to be whatever you want. So let's say if you were to go into Guidr right now, what it's set up to be is, I believe, I don't know what the starting price is for the Essentials plan, $349?
Something like that. But here, the key thing, we have upsells in the process.
Yes.
Also, John, there is an attorney signing. So what's really nice about this is there's a lot of disclaimers and say, hey, there's instructions to self-sign this, but that is the number one reason why wills fail is because they're not executed properly. While the directions are being provided to you, we highly recommend you come into the office for a review and execution. Click this box for $149. You will get a 20-minute virtual review and then an in-office signing, which does not require the attorney to be present. So again, we are doing all kinds of things to help the client not make those mistakes that LegalZoom do. And remember, you are a law firm. The other thing, John, is your amount of time spent on this will be minimal because, again, Guidr has simplified it. What Guidr has done, Guidr will send to you, John, the attorney. This is what's unique. Remember, when clients go on to this, notice I use the word clients, they are dealing with you, a law firm. They are not dealing with a self-help legal site. So what's happening is you as a lawyer will get an email notification from Guidr that says, hey, Betty Boop went on your website and built a will. Here's all of her fact pattern that she filled out in the interview. Here's the document she created and the provisions she said. And it'll even pre-recommend you and say, look, this person has a minor child, but they did not opt for an understated age trust in the will. And that's an upsell that they could have. You then have the ability to, at that moment, click the box and say, I reviewed it, and that's it. And not even you can have a paralegal in your office. We've been through all the ethics. Anyone that you would normally have, check those basic fundamental things and click that box that will then approve what the client did and send it back to them for their execution. It is not an automatic. They do not get the document when they click the button. It does require your approval or someone in your office, typically a paralegal. So the time is minutes because we've done so much of the work in the background on the digital platform side.
So thank you, John and Dave, for that response. It's 10:45. I have just want to acknowledge Colton in here. You said, I'm so new to Guidr that I haven't even found the basics about it. All I have found yesterday is from the consumer side, not how the lawyers get involved, the cost and forth. So Tom Finnegan is on the call with us. He is, Tom, if you, I don't know where he went, but we can absolutely connect with you offline and give you all of those details for you. You can also go to Guidr. Actually, if you go to lawyerswithpurpose.com/Guidr, you'll be able to see a demo video and a bunch of additional information that will give you the perspective for the attorney side. Ron, I know you had some questions and I will gladly.
Dennis was, I think, up higher in the queue. Dennis wants to know if we're doing trust in the future.
Brittany responded to him. Yep.
Oh, she did. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I didn't see that.
Yep. And how do discount codes work? Let's talk about that. And then Brett, I'm going to let you answer that. And then you toss it over and you can start the reveal of what we have coming up soon, who's the estate plan advisor.
Sure. So discount codes are wonderful. I think that is great for any kind of RMS relationships you have going on. So you can set discount codes yourself for your firm. You can have multiple running at the same time. You put whatever name you want on them. You put whatever percentage you want on them. You could have Smith Financial Advisor 2022. You could have Friends and Family 2022. You put whatever you want on there and the amount of the discount attached to it. You're totally in control of that as an admin on your side of Guidr. So those are wonderful. And what I was going to go into earlier was to Ron's question a little bit about anybody else besides, younger demographic when we were talking about that. I have been saying since the beginning, younger demographic for this, but now for me, it's morphed into groups of people. So not only the younger demographic, but high school seniors, really specific. Set yourself up at a table the last week of school, those 18-year-olds going off to college. Why wouldn't they want to do this? Make them realize they need a healthcare proxy when they go away to college. When Lisa mentioned Richard Sakota doing so well out in Hawaii, he has marketed to groups of people who are busy. So union members, fire stations, nurses, people who are working all the time and at crazy hours who aren't traditionally coming into your office. Get in there and do a workshop for them and say, hey, I have Guidr here. Look how easy it is. Do it on your own time, especially those people who work nights and want to sleep during the day. Or like Lisa said, the new mother at home who don't want to spend their 2 hours that they have a babysitter going into the law firm. So groups of people, not just young. They could be whatever age, just different groups. So Tom, I hope I answered your question. I do want to segue just so I can show you guys the new and upcoming estate plan advisor that we are going to be releasing soon. So I'm going to share my screen here. Let me pull this up. And this goes to Dennis's question a little bit about trust planning. So right now, Guidr does not offer trust planning. What it does offer are these essential documents that we've been talking about. So the essentials plan, where you select all three of them, or you could say only a healthcare directive, power of attorney, or will only. And here are those recommended pricing, just so you know, John. So $79 for a healthcare proxy, but like I said, you're fully in control of your pricing. You could up this to $200 if you wanted. But the new thing is this My Personal Estate Plan Advisor. So for somebody who's like, well, I don't know what I need, there are little disclaimers throughout the website that says, this is a great start to your estate planning, but it might not be enough. You might need a trust. It depends. So My Estate Plan Advisor, it just says, should you consider these things? Answer a few questions. Also, just so you know, before I dive into that, we will have also this asset protection analysis that talks about Medicaid. It does not do the Medicaid analysis yet, but it at least collects information so we can see, how many people are asking for that and move that up the priority list. So tell us a little bit about yourself. So here's the estate plan advisor. I'm going to go through here just so I can move on to the next page. It asks really basic information. And this goes back to what Guy was saying about simplicity. We cut a lot of questions out of here because we were like, we don't want people to be bogged down in this for 20 minutes just to get a recommendation. This is my real birthday. Don't steal my identity. Send presents. I want to show you when you do hit that they're married, it does change this interview accordingly. So as you scroll down, now look, it asks questions about your health status and your spouse's health status. So it is reactive like that, but to save myself a little time on entering information, even with children, do you have children? Are they underage? Are they disabled? Okay. Veterans, your healthcare status, maybe my health is good. No prepaid funeral, no long-term care insurance. Okay. And then it asks some of these, what is important to you kind of questions. So is it important to establish your own rules? Is it important for you to keep financial and personal information private? So let me go through and just answer a couple of these so you can get an idea of the plan and what it would do. So they've gone through here and said what is important to them. We have some baseline information, and this is going to recommend a plan. Oh, and these should be switched. So revocable plan would normally show up in the middle here. It's going to select a plan based on those answers. It still gives them a whole explanation. Hey, what is the revocable trust plan? It ensures your stuff is handled your way without court interference after your death, versus an asset protection plan where it, protects your stuff from creditors, predators. So it gives them a little explanation here. What this is going to do is they select a plan and they are going to be taken through the essentials. So like I said, we're only doing the essential documents online through Guidr right now. They will still do these essential documents online ahead of time, saving you time at that first meeting. What it will do is direct them to your office. Our lawyers will contact you to arrange an in-person meeting to prepare the document. So because Guidr does not do trusts right now, we're not charging them for a trust plan on here. But what we are collecting for you to make your life a little simpler is once they go through their interview and they fill out their questions with the healthcare directive, power of attorney will, they'll also be asked some financial questions to fill out at what we normally refer to as the personal information form or your client intake form, so that you have some idea at that first meeting, here's what their assets look like. I already have this information in front of me. That has already saved me X amount of time. So it will collect that baseline information for you, but it will not generate a trust document. They will come into you in the traditional way to do the trust planning. Also on here, we do have those add-ons. So this allows them to toggle these on and off. And if they're like, well, do I need that? I don't know. There are, again, explanations, so they can add these to the plan or take them off. And it adds everything up down here. So you see this changes as I add or remove things and gives them a total. They hit continue and they are taken through the traditional Guidr interview. So couple little tweaks to still do here. Like I said, this is not on the website right now, but coming out very, very soon, hopefully right after the new year. Let me toss it, Guy or Dave, do you have anything to add or?
I think Brittany, you said something, but most attorneys wouldn't have heard this, but as an attorney who's had staff for 30 years, I heard it and it hit me in the forehead. What the estate plan advisor is going to do is, when we talked about the personal information form, getting all that basic information or financial data, Guidr will send that to you in a PDF or an Excel document. So you will have every single bit of information on that client. Now think about how much time that takes your client service coordinators and other people to get all that information in. It's usually handwritten. It's some parts filled out, some parts not. Guidr, what Guidr is doing here, and this goes back to the original question Heidi had, we're digitizing and democratizing, delegating out the technology as much of the work as we can in the office. So now how much more efficient are we able to help these folks that are coming in? And it actually pre-selects what their plan should be. Hey, look, based on the way you answered the advisor, you really should be doing a revocable living trust, or you should be doing an irrevocable trust for asset protection planning or benefits eligibility. For those who are in the LWP community that might be on this call, it actually is going to simulate the estate plan audit and the clarifier, so that it takes that process and then hands it to the attorney in a digitized format, and in fact imports it into, again, the action step portals to the extent action step permits it. So it's just automation and support for your back office. It's really delegating some of the work internally to technology and letting the consumer do that work for you.
So Colton, that should answer your question in the chat box. It says, is the client information then mine for future use? Then we had Dennis, is the layout and questions you are going through now the same for attorneys who participate, or is it customizable? The only features that are customizable, and Britt, you can clean, she's our product owner, clean me up on this, is when we're building your URL, there's certain areas that we can make customized to you and your law firm. But correct me if I'm wrong, but everything that's in the actual platform is standard, correct?
Correct. So there are a couple of things that are defaultable. So like in different, there are defaults that you can set that are preferences for your law firm. So do you call them an executor versus a personal representative versus an administrator? There are a couple of those. And as well as what else is default?